Okay, so let's take a look at the traffic situation in the city, starting with Nairobi as always. This is the capital city of Nairobi. If you are still in the house, holiday is over. Can we go out? No faje kazi. So let me start with the Thika Road. Thika Road today is a bit better. Thika Road is moving, okay. It starts at around Madari Mental Hospital. That's you come towards the Muthaiga Square there. That's where the traffic is. But the entire stretch of Thika Road looks okay. I think because almost everyone has gone home and the holiday mood has set in. This is where we are. The outside of coming all the way from Westlands roundabout, you're coming from this side looking pretty fine as you come towards the National Museum, where there was a lot of traffic yesterday. Now that is moving pretty fine. Now, it's quite surprising that the entire city looks okay today. Now, this is what it looks like. This is Raila Odinga Way, otherwise known as Mbagathi Way, for those who know that. Looks okay. Langata Road, pretty fine. That is what it looks like. There you go. What about Ngong Road? That is the southern bypass. Ngong Road, looking okay. This is what it looks like. There's no traffic even at the notorious Junction Mall here. All looking okay. This is what it's like. So let me just summarize in one word. Okay. So far, so good. Mombasa Road, also fine. So if you are in town, you want to get out, if you are somewhere in the estate or coming into the CBD, Nairobi looks pretty good. What about the traffic situation in Mombasa? Mombasa, are you ready for us? We are here once again. The entire Nyali Road highway looking pretty fine all the way from Hala Park, coming to around Kongoya Market. Today is looking pretty good. All right. After that, coming to New Nyali Bridge, okay. Kila kitu iko sawa. As you can come see here, all looking fine. As you come from the other side of Makupa Bridge and to around Makupa and around Kenya Coast, National Polytechnic there, all moving pretty fine as you come to the CBD. What about the Likoni Ferry Channel? It looks okay today. Apart from the other side of the Mombasa Island, this side of Likoni Ferry, Likoni, no much traffic today to report about. So far, that is what it looks like. So Mombasa, again, thank you so much for being ready for us. Our camera lady Njoki will be there very soon. Asipote. Beach Boys, tafadhali. Aha. Okay. Kisumu City, again, so far so good. I really want to understand what's happening in the country today. Guys, holiday is over. Or are we in the spirit of Christmas? We've started it. But we still have to work. We're still working. Okay. Even if I refresh, take a look at that. There's nothing. So the traffic situation in the country is basically looking okay, looks fine. So as you come all the way from Riyadh down to, to Kondele, it looks okay. The other side of Car Wash, people have been asking what's Car Wash? There's a place called Car Wash, Kondele Car Wash. There's so many car wash outlets and enterprises around this place. That's why it's called Car Wash. And the only car wash that started here started way, way, way back. So there was a car wash around this place. That's why it's called Kondele Car Wash. That's where we... All right, okay. I had to censor that. Sawa. So looking fine as you get outside the city. Kisumu towards the National Airport. Again, looking pretty fine. Outside towards Ahero and Rabur, outside looking pretty okay. Now, let me take you through that's so far as traffic is concerned. And we'll be taking a look now. All right, so pretty fast, let me take you through the front page of our local daily, starting with what we have here on the magic wall. On the front page of the People Daily, there we have it. Kenya turns 60. That is what's on the front page of the People Daily. Kenya turns 60. It was colorful with school kids, not even school kids per se, but children gracing that particular event. It's always a very beautiful thing for kids to come out just to enjoy, donning in green. It was white, green, and red. So far, it was okay. Kenya turns 60. And the story says that rich history of highs and lows. At the dawn of independence on December 12th, 1963, Kenya faced many challenges, including poverty, ignorance, and disease, as stated by founding President Jomo Kenyatta. Over 6 decades, Presidents Daniel Arap Moi, Mwai Kibaki, Uhuru Kenyatta, and now William Ruto have steered the nation through tough times on the journey to self-determination. That is Kenya turns 60. It was colorful indeed. It was colorful indeed. Let me take you on the second pages there. And again, you can see it was again, several people were featured. Started with Faith Kipyegon and Kelvin named Athletes of the Year, crowning their colorful season. Now, Faith also accorded highest civilian honor in Kenya. Makofi to them, to our athletes. All right, so country opens its doors to the world. That is what is here. As per the presidential directive, President William Ruto said that visa rule to be revoked in January. You can see, this is what it is. Beautiful photo there. The president marching in between the soldiers. Now, foreigners arriving in the country will only need to be registered in online portal, says President at Jamhuri Day celebrations. That's a story that is making a lot of talks on page 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 of the People Daily. It's just too good to be there. All right. Visa rule to be revoked in January, as President directed yesterday. It's going to be effective. Again, excitement. A Citizens Mark Freedom Day. President William Ruto leads Kenyans in celebrating the day at Uhuru Gardens. That is the story here. Event was graced by regional heads and attended by over 30,000 Kenyans. And of course, even some watched in the diaspora. And Ruto now presides the second trooping of the color ceremony for the new 25 Mechanized Infantry Battalion. It was colorful. It was colorful. All right? All right. So we have got pictures here of Kenyans. It was all smiles amidst gloom and whatever you see, but you can still afford a smile. Kenyans are happy people. There we have it. Kenyans are happy people. Again, it also, now that is the trooping of the color. And actually, this is now at the point now, there was a drill by the 25th Mechanized Infantry Battalion during the 2023 Jamhuri Day celebrations yesterday at the Jamhuri Gardens. It was colorful, so this is a new one. And here we have got Chief Justice Martha Koome with her deputy Philomena Mwilu looking pretty fine. Look at their outfit. They're looking beautiful. They're looking good. And now Chief Justice Martha Koome with her deputy Philomena Mwilu during the Jamhuri Day celebrations at Uhuru Gardens. It was all fanfare. The celebration, I believe, still continues countrywide in that spirit. But to the winners, congratulations once again. Again, it was again for the, it was marked across different counties, across the country, different counties. Actually, that was, they were supposed to be in all the 47 devolved units. That's where the other celebrations took place. Of course, this one is Mombasa. Mombasa Governor Abdul Samad Sharif Nasir joined the prisoners at Jela Baridi in Mvita, Mombasa County yesterday, and some of whom were pardoned by the president yesterday. Interesting. And here, an activist is arrested at Uhuru Gardens during the 2023 Jamhuri Day celebrations. This is a point I'm saying that you should not try to do certain things. You'll be escorted honorably to a safe place. I believe Mwalimu Sossion knows this pretty well. Sossion, have you ever faced such kind of events in the past? Good morning.
Good morning.
Kenya turned 60. If your country right now would be going home for retirement.
Well, indeed, yes. It's quite a period.
Okay. I'll come back to you. Just hold on that. Just hold on that. Okay. Again, still on the pictures here, I have Professor Peter Nyang' Nyong'o. This is Babalu Peter yesterday also leading members of the public at the Jomo Kenyatta Sports Ground in Kisumu. Again, the deputy president there and etc. etc. There's a lot of excitement and art. There's a lot of showcasing talent there yesterday at Uhuru Gardens. At Uhuru Gardens yesterday. Okay, so this is where we have it. Visas for foreigners abolished as Kenya marks 60th birthday. Visas for foreigners abolished as Kenya marks 60th birthday. That's where we have it. Visitors traveling into the country will only be required to obtain prior electronic travel authorization. That is the biggest news here. In the landmark decision, the president announced that beginning January, visitors to Kenya, will not require visas. Instead, an online record system will be used to keep tabs on foreigners entering the country. His declaration came 2 days after Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua told Youth Summit that Kenya was considering waiving visa fees for all visitors. So this is where we are right now as a country. And President Ruto said that Kenya was the home of humanity, a scientific fact that fills its people with pride and underscores the country's rich heritage. So the reason why that is happening is, one, to boost trade, and of course there's an aspect of smart choices. You know, in places of visa, all foreigners traveling into the country will obtain prior electronic travel authorization. The decision effectively marks Kenya the second country in Africa after Rwanda to waive visa fees and requirements for foreigners. That is what you have. In October, President Ruto said that trade among East African community countries had grown significantly due to the removal of visa requirements and tariffs within the bloc. That has been a matter of discussion for many years, tariff barriers. And he is the second president after Rwanda to effect that. So because of this, smart choices, a strong shield that, again, outlining some of the successes measures under his administration, he said that in the last 6 months, the country's wealth, also known as the gross domestic product, or GDP, had grown at 5.4%, making the 29th fastest growing economy in the world. All right. So what does it really mean as per put out there by the Star? You can take a look at that. What it really means that the decision announced by President William Ruto during his Jamhuri Day celebration is expected to have far-reaching implications for the country's development, particularly in terms of tourism arrivals, economic and inclusion and trade. But that does not mean that if you are coming to do business in the country, then you'll not have business permit. That will be required. Beneficiaries of Inua Jamii Access Funds, that, etc., you can take a look at what you have. Route of foreign trips are good for Kenya. That is according to Mudavadi, Prime Cabinet Secretary. That is, President's frequent visits to other countries have been criticized as a strain on national resources. But Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi says that it's all for the good of Kenya. Sakaja pledges daily meals for all Nairobi pupils at only 5 shillings. I will ask Daniel Orogo if we should go back to school and start enjoying this. Life is hard out there, so if you get a meal for 5 shillings. For those who attended UON, there's a place called Stella Winja. Stella Winja. Stella Winja is some hotel there where you'd go with 15 shillings and have a complete meal. Mheshimiwa Sossion,
did you know Stella Winja?
Yes.
Do you know the person of Stella Winja?
You mean it to tell the country?
Stella Winja was a student at the University of Nairobi.
Yes.
And while she was walking through Lillian Towers,
yes,
when Lillian Towers was being constructed, debris fell on her and she died. And that's the memory of Stella Winja at the University of Nairobi.
Very good.
So Lillian Towers,
yes,
took away the life of a young Stella Winja student then at the University of Nairobi when it was being constructed.
Perfect.
So it's important you get to know the origin and the source.
Clearly, I'm so sure if Daniel did not know
I
that.
didn't. I occasionally enjoyed meals at that particular place.
Stella Winja was relatively cheap.
I mean, it's affordable, pocket-friendly for students there.
50 shillings, you're done.
You're done with a good meal.
Right.
But I think it's good to acknowledge that kind of history.
Yes.
That was not really
Which year was that,
appreciated.
That was 70s.
70s?
Yes.
Long time ago.
Long time.
Daniel, after
when
this
University of Nairobi, when University of Nairobi was the only university in Kenya. Yeah.
All right.
Great.
So, comrades, now you know. Okay. Very well. So I think that marks that particular point. Before we continue, all right, so let's come back home and now see what's there. That was the front page of this time of the People Daily. Good morning, gentlemen, once again. Daniel, good morning.
Good morning.
Good to see you. Happy 60th birthday.
Been a pleasure here. I think it's good to appreciate where the country has been through and where we are as a country. I think we acknowledge this with a sense of pride.
Yes.
And any patriotic Kenyan, regardless of any background or any diversities, really needs to appreciate that the country has gone through, steps and milestones and sometimes challenges to be at the level where we are.
Yeah.
So I think generally we really need to appreciate, as the nationhood that we saw being portrayed yesterday.
Yeah. All right. So let me because we are still here on the front page. There we go. I'll take you that. Okay, I'll come back to the front page of the People Daily, but still on the front page of the Star newspaper. Ruto's visa order to bolster tourism. Let me take you through that front page very quickly. Kenya Kwanza administration is under pressure to deliver on its pledges, but now President says that no foreigner will be required to obtain a visa starting January. Mwalimu, a step towards the right direction. Front page,
and,
People Daily.
Particularly as the designate Chief Administrative Secretary, Ministry of Tourism.
Yes.
I can confirm that the country is headed in the right direction in getting the number of tourists within the country. And you see, for a country to earn economically from tourism, the number of tourists must be 50% the national population. So if we are 50 million, Kenya has the potentiality of getting at least 25 million visitors every year, annually, for many reasons. And Kenya has diverse products in tourism. Other than being a regional economic hub, global economic hub, and also its centrality gives it the best opportunity to be visited. And it's a reasonable country for investment because of the quality of human resource and labor that's available within the country.
Yes.
So two things need to be done. One, removing visa restrictions, which the president has done. And this, the president should be lauded. This is a real game changer, because going to open the country to get connected strongly to the region, and when I talk of the region, I'm not talking about East Africa, the African continent. Yeah. Because intracontinental trade is important and is going to determine the growth of our economy, and also connection to the resource markets all over the world. We saw the other day Swedish tourists shifting out of Kenya to Tanzania because of one reason, rigorous process of getting the visa. Now that the visas are open, we expect the source markets and tourists to stream into the country. And number two, the other thing that needs to be done is to abolish other barriers, particularly the air travels. The airspace must be liberalized, so that if we have Ethiopian Airlines landing in Kisumu, others landing in Eldoret, others landing in Mombasa, allow all the other airlines in the world to freely visit the different destinations in Kenya. If that is opened, then we are going to see a vibrant Kenyan economy that can leap closer to the first world. Right. We must transform ourselves and bypass the traditional processes of industrializing the country through manufacturing, and we get straight to industrialize the service industry, get into the service industry, that of tourism, and it's going to change a lot. And remember, one tourist supports 6 jobs. One tourist supports 6 jobs. So if we have close to minimum 10 million, the effect will not be felt immediately. It will grow with time, because then this is going to compel investors to expand hotels, expand infrastructure, expand the products. The counties will even have a new frontier to invest in terms of tourism. And there'll be different types of tourism: medical tourism, agricultural tourism, ecotourism other than the traditional tourism.
Yes.
Once that is done, then in 10, 15 years, we will be able to realize optimum benefits of all this.
Okay.
So this is a real transformative agenda and a shift to proper service industry and an economy that guarantees employment to everybody. And that speaks to the bottom up. How can we have tourism to really resonate with the people at the bottom and support the bottom up? We must allow those guests to come in. We cannot be a country of class tourists, exclusive tourism. It's only meant for the rich from the global north visiting just to sightsee in the game parks. We must also open up for other what we call budget tourists.
Just a minute, is it an open visa for tourists, for students coming to study in Kenya?
It's an open visa for people coming to Kenya for different things. Those coming for, you see, visitors to Kenya are classified as tourists, whether they're coming for conferences, whether they're coming for private visits, whether they're coming to tour, to tour destinations and in Kenya, where they're coming for leisure. All of them are classified as visitors and are tourists, and they come, they spend, and they engage in a lot of useful economic activities. And this is one way of ensuring that we even have dollars available through and through. It's if we don't have much commodities to export, we can earn more for a lot of foreign exchange, significant. That even that can triple the income tenfold from exporting agricultural goods and other goods from tourism. So tourism is going to be the biggest foreign exchange earner and income to this economy.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Daniel.
And so there's reason to remove restrictions, but government should go further and abolish even air restriction. And that is what's needed in the entire continent.
We'll discuss more that, Mwalimu. We'll discuss more that.
Open up boundaries and allow free movement of people, so that a flight to Abuja from Nairobi can be very low by about the current market by 4 times.
All right, thank you. David, let me get Daniel. David, let me get you. Ruto's visa order to bolster tourism.
A lot of progress, and I agree with what Honorable Sossion has just mentioned. Let it be known that we are doing this in the background of an African continental free trade, agreement that a number of countries, ratified, especially in Africa, to allow for that, free trade, the intercontinental free trade, to happen within the continent. This is a major boost because, again, the clarity is that from January, if you want to travel to Kenya for any reason, then you, except for the reason that are building economy and people's health, then you're allowed to visit this country. One, in the matters of trade and tourism sector, like Mheshimiwa has talked about, I think that is a good progress. We've had countries who opened up their country for those who want to visit. I mean, Seychelles did that. I mean, before even Rwanda, Seychelles opened the space. Mauritius opened the space, and then Rwanda, Benin as well. The countries who've allowed people to move in their countries for tourism, different forms of tourism, others for educational purposes, for medical purposes, and of course, I was reading yesterday about the article that had been produced by the African Development Bank on how their prospects of economic boost for countries that are visa-free or allow visitors to visit their country for different reasons, as opposed to those who are still restricted in terms of visa. Then there is a difference, because then the countries that have allowed people to move in through enjoys the freedom that comes and economic growth and boost that comes with investment, trade, and tourism. However, I think everything has got its own, advantages and disadvantages. And partly the head of state belabored to explain this yesterday. Then how would that come with the security issues in the background? Because then we shouldn't forget about that. Then when a space is opened, then also we onboard the baggage of, terrorists or people who are not meant to do good, using the opportunities, to carry on their own ill-advised activities within those countries. But I am happy that even before such an order or such a decision is made, then there's an elaborate processes of checks and balances of making sure that people who are coming to this country are well known well in advance. This is exactly what sometimes visa application process tries to do, to know exactly who is coming to such a country and for what reason and how long they are going to stay in those countries, and who are they going to stay with? Who's invited them? What is their letters of invitation? So I think these are particular processes that, even though these are, a decision is made in this country, this really needs to be looked into very carefully and very keenly. And I hope, the government is keenly tracking this to make sure that we do not onboard, particularly that. But again, mine is also just to say that, our policies are really trying to get into, very well updated. And if you find sometimes, then we're also able to discuss then what is our, our foreign policies, what is our, how then do we place ourselves as a tourist destination in this country. I like the speech with the head of state yesterday, that even this is just welcoming people home, marketing Kenya as an archaeological, site, as an origin of human race, as to when you travel in this country, you are going back home. So these messages really reason well with humanity still this time. So I agree with that decision, and it's a good boost to this country.
Let's take a break, and we come back. I still have got 2 more papers to take you through, and of course, still continue with the discussion. Stay with us. All right, welcome back. And because it's a breakfast show, we also enjoying our hot cup of coffee. Sossion, akona yake. Daniel pia akona yake. This is how we are doing it.
And coffee is nice, and Kenyan coffee is gaining global currency. And with what Rigiji is doing to reform the coffee sector and get rid of cartels in the coffee industry, then coffee farmers in Kenya should only earn significant.
Let's enjoy our coffee, our made in Kenya. This
Kenyan
is
coffee.
This is it. All right, this is how we do it. Karibu sana to the show.
Not only Kenyan tea, Kenyan coffee and Kenyan tea is remarkably a brand.
It has a market outside the world.
Globally.
Globally.
Yes,
so
globally.
wherever I am asked to probably give a gift, normally they ask me don't bring anything, but bring me tea or coffee, Kenyan tea and coffee.
Well, okay, that's why we are enjoying ours here. But it's this coffee. There's nothing. It's real coffee here.
So we should be proud of our coffee farmers.
We are very.
And they should earn well.
Asante. All right. So now that you're still having your coffee, let me take you through the front page, Mwalimu. Ruto, Kenya is on right track. President says that the country is out of danger and economy is on stable footing. And he says that, yes, Ruto, Kenya is on right track. Economy debt says that difficult and painful sacrifices have pulled the country from the brink of debt distress. On taxation, the president says that he defended tax measures, including housing levy and removal of subsidies as necessary, as well as he has vowed to support the war on graft, saying that no single shilling shall be lost through theft and embezzlement. He also said that he is rooting for housing plan and as a massive, deliberate and systematic job creation mechanism. And finally, he's opened doors for our borders, our borders, by saying that beginning January 2024, Kenya will be a visa-free country, easing travel for visitors globally. Ruto, Kenya is on the right track. Mwalimu.
Yeah, indeed, right, on the right track. There was a lot of noise about the taxes, which really was misrepresented by critics, and it's very easy to whip up negative emotions among the people in terms of taxation. But the tax regime that was adopted, and it is cast in the Finance Act, has stabilized the economy. And the indicators are clear. One, inflation is down to 6.8 from 9-point-something%. Those are facts. Those are facts or figures. And once you have inflation stabilizing at that level, and it should even come down further, then it's a good indicator that our economy is doing well. The GDP growth is now placed at 5.4%. And Kenya is ranked, and was stated by the president yesterday, globally as number 29, fastest growing economy globally. We chose the hard options, and the president was candid about it, that these are short-term pains for long-term gains. And I remember I told you in this show, it is like taking a patient into theater for surgery. It's a painful process, but eventually it leads to robust, good health. So I think the taxation measures were merged with the investment programs of government and also merged with the debt portfolio.
Yeah.
Now we are out of debt distress. That statement has been made by the president. And that means we are now able to manage our debts. And while managing our debts, the government will still be able to deliver on the basic, on the essential services to the people, and also finance development programs, particularly the production sector, which has got about 5 key flagships within the framework of Kenya Kwanza government administration. And the biggest good news is that now food is available in the country. That in 1 year, the government has been able to put in a lot of efforts to reform the agriculture sector, particularly through subsidized fertilizers. And now in the tax measures that we have seen, taxes have been waived in raw materials to manufacture fertilizers, raw materials to manufacture agrochemicals, and there is further need to ensure that farmers access quality seeds, like the cotton farmers are getting the BT cotton seeds for free, the sunflower seeds. There's a lot of investment in supporting farmers in terms of input, and therefore, and we've seen in terms of maize, the staple food, the main food, that we are going to harvest 44 million metric tons. That is up from 30 million. To me, those are very significant achievements, and therefore, when the president says the country is headed in the right direction, the president is stating the truth. And I think what Kenyans need to do is to understand what is happening, and we must appreciate countries that do very well are also subjected to a lot of taxation. And those taxes must get down to deliver on their services. And when you look at the taxation balance, it waives many areas that affects the interest of citizens. And it slabs taxes on areas that are non-essential to citizens, particularly goods being imported to the country. There is no need of importing goods that can be produced locally. So goods that can be manufactured locally and are being imported, slap it with heavy taxation. And even talking about the future of shoe industry, for example, if we have leather in this country and we can establish leather industries and manufacture shoes, why should we import shoes from outside? And if shoes must come from outside, it must be slapped with a heavy taxation. I think the economics and the approach that the government is using to transform the economy was not understood. But I think by and by, as the products of the process are felt and appreciated by the citizens, slowly and slowly they will appreciate. And let me tell you, the government under President William Ruto has not vacated the agenda of bottom-up economic transformation agenda. This is the promise that was made to Kenyans, and therefore, therefore we think, to me, from a Labour point of view, and as a Labour leader of long-standing. I think the country is headed in the right direction, both in the social front, economic front, and also in terms of general development.
All right. Daniel.
It's quite difficult to quantify sometimes whether it is headed to the right direction or making a slow progress or not making it at all. I am one of the Kenyans who sat yesterday and listened keenly to the president's speech. And while I was doing that, I was just measuring to the manifesto of the Kenya Kwanza and what was promised. I think normally when I sit here, I said, we give the due where it's supposed to be given, Victor. And you've known very well that the objectivity is that we agree that there is some progress that have been made by this regime in trying to understand and trying to, fulfill what they promised. When I was checking about the rate of inflation yesterday at the Central Bank of Kenya, giving the history of inflation from 1990s until now. I like to correct that the inflation rate of 9.2%, according to the figures the central bank gave yesterday, and is still available in their portal. That was a figure that was until February that we had it 9.2, probably maybe last year. But until February it was at 9.2, and then now, correctly as Honorable said, now it's 6.8, which means, and I agree that it is a steady progress in terms of trying to reduce the rate of inflation in this country. That is correct. But let's also correct it that as of February this year, it was still 9.2%. So that is correct. Is in the central bank website. One of the things that I also agree with is the strides that have been made by the Kenya Kwanza government in trying to deal and tackle the economic crisis that we have. One of the issues that I also foresaw is the fact that the regime is opening up more space for creative economy.
Yeah.
You see, we have these traditional economies and reports that Kenyans really rely on, especially looking at manufacturing, looking at tourism, looking at what sector. But I think what I've seen the government trying to do, and that's just I sit here to just give a credit where it's due, is by the fact that the president and the whole regime has been trying to market Kenyans, especially in matters of digital economy as well, which promises a lot of jobs, by the way. Matters that are coming with artificial intelligence, for example, matters that are coming with the blue economy, green economy. And these are areas that, young people, since yesterday's celebration about young people, you see it was much themed as young people. I think it's critical that the head of state, while addressing the other traditional or other normal economic aspects or prospects, then I think we also need to look at then what is the promise of this kind of a new economic frontier, which I think this regime is really trying to do. But on it all, I agree with certain aspect that one, there is a steady progress in terms of reducing inflation. However, again, I still feel that there is a slack when it comes to matters of dealing with wastage and fighting corruption and living large. You see, these are prominent issues that are coming in particular this regime. And yesterday there is a question about the travels that the president has made, the entire executive members. You see, there's one of the headlines that was there yesterday. Between October and now, around a number of travels that have been made. So the question is, could we also give a feedback on what is the economic viability and the feedback or what this brings back to the economy vis-a-vis the 329 million that are accrued? What is the value that is plowed back in the economy? What is the value that is plowed back? For example, when the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, you see the number of cases that the Ethics and Anti-Corruption have outlined that are forwarded to the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution. When this is done and prosecutions are made, what is the return, of what was looted out of public coffers? So when we are clearly, and Honorable Sossion, when we are clearly able to provide this information to the citizens, then I think the country would appreciate the value of, even as much as we are trying to revive the economy in terms of investment, but also even as much as, could you give a report on how we are reducing wastage, but at the same time plowing back to what is recovered that is stolen from this country here and in abroad. So when we are able to deal with that, then I think Kenyans would appreciate what the regime are doing in totally and holistically.
All right, very good. On the front page of the Standard newspaper. Okay, Ruto opens doors, Kenya's doors on visa gamble. That's on the front page of the Standard. Ruto opens Kenya's doors in a visa gamble. President seeks to assuage Kenyans' suffering, saying that painful experiences of higher taxes is now paying off by pulling the country out of debt distress, and announces Kenya will be visa-free starting next month. Okay, what are some of the figures here? 6.8% is the current inflation rate, and 4.2 billion shillings is the amount of money lent to 21 million Hustler Fund borrowers, making it the largest financial inclusion program in the country. And you have got 300 shillings is what the vulnerable will now pay to access health coverage, down from 500 as the government rolls out framework to reform healthcare. We have got 31, the number of active housing development sites employing 120,000 people. Another 31 are undergoing evaluation, while others are in various stages of design. And finally, what is 4 million? 4 million is now the number of learners to receive coding training under KICD approved program in collaboration with Google and other partners. So those are some of the figures as was read out by President William Ruto. Very quickly on the front page of, I think more or less the same thing that was on the front page of the Star newspaper. Ruto opens Kenya's doors in visa gamble. How about I take you through the spirit of fairness, take you through the front page of the Star newspaper, the People Daily. Kenya turns 60. This is what is on the front page of the People Daily. Rich history of high and lows. At the dawn of independence on December 12, 1963, Kenya faced many challenges, including poverty, ignorance, and disease, as stated by founding President Mzee Jomo Kenyatta. Over 6 decades, Presidents Daniel Arap Moi, Mwai Kibaki, Uhuru Kenyatta, now William Ruto have steered the nation through tough times on the journey to self-determination. This is what we have here. Kenya turned 60. It was a colorful celebration yesterday at the Jamhuri, the Uhuru Gardens, as Kenya marked 60. Mheshimiwa Sossion, I'm so certain that you've not clocked 60 years. That I can bet.
I've not clocked 60 years. I was born 5 years after independence, so you can be sure.
So you're not yet there?
I'm not yet there. But these dreams have been dreams and dreams. You know, Victor, many countries attained independence with us at the same time, both within the continent and other parts of the world. But African economies was stagnated. We really didn't get independence as such, because we remained largely under the political and economic control of our former colonies. We did not even mount liberal education systems that would help us industrialize. And that is why as Africa, we never ever industrialized. But countries in Asia, they broke off and did their own things. And now they're not talking about 60 years. I was seeing the PM of Singapore, outgoing PM, saying we need to keep our systems clean. And that was his parting short statement when leaving Singapore. But here, we are still talking about fighting poverty, illiteracy, and disease for close to 60 years. I think this narrative must stop, and that is where the transformative agenda of the bottom-up is very radical and revolutionary. If all Kenyans can support the current government programs, then we'll be able to achieve this within 5 years, and we'll break away. We are at the verge of the 4th industrial revolution, and this is where the president is very passionate.
What should be fighting?
That then, now, just allow me, that then we must invest heavily in the ICT infrastructure so that we put all Kenyans in the economic space, like the creative economy has been doing, and allow all youth, because our Kenyan youth are very versatile in terms of ICT, to be in that particular space. And I want to state that one of the current policies under implementation is building ICT hubs in every ward through Constituency Development Fund, CDF, which of course the amendments were signed into law by the President the other day. If we have ICT hubs in every ward, that enables the youth across the country to be in the ICT space. And with their skills, they can engage in employment opportunities and programs all over the world, and engage in and really participate effectively in the creative economic space. That notwithstanding, Victor, you realize during Kibaki administration, Kenya is one country that was allowed to develop very fast and grow very fast in mobile technology. And Kenyans are maybe among the first few Africans citizens to really operate mobile phone technology and to be in that particular space. And therefore, now we are in the fourth industrial revolution. The fourth industrial revolution is about operating literally everything through ICT infrastructure. And therefore, we need to give this capacity to the youth of Kenya. And this is where the President is so passionate about having ICT hubs in every ward through the CDF, and also in strengthening the delivery of ICT knowledge through TVET institutions. And right now, there are about 40 million Kenyans who are in employment through online jobs. You don't need to physically leave Kenya to be on an online employment and to be in that space of creative economy. So I think we must take Kenyans, the government must take the lead and facilitate Kenyans to participate effectively and fit in the fourth industrial revolution.
Perfect.
And I'm sure once this is realized, the outcome and indicators will be seen in what the youth will be doing all over the country.
I ask a question because 60 years down the line, we are still eradicating poverty, ignorance, and disease. Let me ask you, what do you think we should be fighting 60 years later, today, instead of the three? What should we be focusing on? Mheshimiwa, in 1 minute, if you can. Your own version.
No, I've said let's move to the fourth industrial revolution. If you want to know what the fourth industrial revolution is all about,
for the benefit
it means
of the
we shall have gone through, we should be done with things of diseases. We should not be paying for any form of ailment in this country, including critical illnesses. We should be able to do that, and I think that has been addressed through the health bills.
Yes.
We should be done with education. Education should be free and of good quality. Those are things that are being addressed now, because you cannot move to that level before you seal all these things to do with food sufficiency, which should be done. And that is where we are speaking to reinvigorating the production sector so that we promote manufacturing, value addition, and that is why there are EPZ zones to aggregate products from farmers in all 47 counties. That should be done. So we are actualizing. What is being done now through the bottom-up economic transformation agenda is to actualize and close these objectives that were provided, that was outlined during independence. Then you take the country forward to the global space to compete effectively within the global space.
Thank you.
And fit in the fourth industrial revolution. And Kenya should be a competitive economy. That is compelling for anybody in the world.
We can be proud of that.
To be part of.
We can be proud of that as a nation. I think we've made several strides.
All these, Mheshimiwa has talked about, narrows down. Every time, every regime, we are really calling for a leadership. For a leadership. Because it is...
A deliberate.
Yes, a deliberate leadership. It is all this poverty, ignorance, disease, and the transition to different forms of, revolutionary in every century requires leadership. I mean, Mheshimiwa Sossion have said here that, he quoted the outgoing, is it Malaysian minister, and those Asian tigers,
Singapore
and other Asian tigers who were able to leap throughout those systems that were put together, by colonizers to progress.
Yes.
But what took them? Leadership. You see the leadership. You see the leadership of Xi Jinping from the transition from where China was. You see the leadership of the Asian tigers, like I've mentioned. The ability to recognize what is the generational call, what is the generational desire, what is that transition in each generation, what is the revolutionary on that generation. So for us. Correct. I am still looking at these leaders you've mentioned. Jomo Kenyatta, President Daniel Arap Moi, Mwai Kibaki, Uhuru Kenyatta, and right now Dr. William Ruto. What is the attribution can we give them? The ability to recognize the generational need and to be able to format a government to meet and tailor-make those needs. And that is why I have appreciated here, and I've agreed with Mheshimiwa Sossion, by appreciating that the Honorable Dr. William Ruto and the government have acknowledged certain aspects of a leap of what this generation requires, that we are slowly migrating
he needs to carry on.
And speedily migrating to a digital economy. And by the way, Honorable Irungu Kangata, when he was actually in one of the graduation, he cautioned the graduates that not mark you, young people, you're always, asking about the jobs in government. And acknowledge the fact that people are sitting down and they're working from homes and they're being paid. While others are saying we are waiting and being employed, which is not bad, but the recognition that Kenya is becoming liberalized and freedom in our free market economy and capitalistic economy that we are operating requires a liberal economy. By the fact that we should open our ICT, and as much as possible educate the citizens and match the curriculum to meet the need of a digital economy. That is exactly that is what we are requiring as a leader, as a leadership. Now,
then it means that we have to restructure our curriculum. Because if we are now migrating to the digital world, right?
No doubt.
No doubt, right?
Yes,
so we need to, moving forward, if that is now the fourth industrialization you're talking about, then we have to package our education system in such a way that is going to have this taken care of.
If you read the Education Charter of Kenya Kwanza, we said we are going to open up fresh conversation with Kenyans on our education system and evaluate the education system that we have with the view of preserving the strong knowledge-based education that we have in Kenya, because everything about skills and competencies is founded on knowledge, which of course Kenya has been doing very well for many years, while at the same time accommodating competencies, skills, and values for the 21st century. And that is going to speak to the fourth industrial revolution, and we must have a flexible curriculum that allows learners to build their potential, and we have seen a lot of reforms that are being undertaken now in the ministry through consultation. While Secretary General of NAT, I raised concern about non-consultation in education reform. You cannot undertake reforms without professionally consulting.
You must have a round-table discussion.
Now the report is the Presidential Working Party report is under implementation, and the correct structure has actually been developed so that. And let me tell you, Victor, a curriculum must be reviewed constantly. And any curriculum must be reviewed every 5 years, according to UNESCO standards. And the President said on 23rd of June, 2022, while signing that charter at Catholic University, that we shall do what UNESCO tells us to do. We are not going to do what we think emotionally within the country. And to me, I buy and I share that opinion very strongly. And that is why there are a lot of reforms in the education sector. If you look at the model, it's a whole conversation that we may need about 3 weeks, Victor, to discuss about that. But then that is falling in place.
Perfect.
It is being addressed. The TVETs are shaping up. The universities are modeling up. They are rising from the ashes, from their death. And the basic education system is taking shape. But there is something that Victor, my colleague has talked about, leadership. And I think we should, that should be the key thing that we talk about it.
I need to fill your cup.
Leadership. And he has talked about, we cannot be doing ABCD, we cannot dream Malaysian dreams, Singapore dreams, Korean dreams, Chinese dreams, and the Asian tigers' dreams when we are engaged in wastage.
Walimo.
And when we have baggage.
It's 8 a.m.
Baggage. It's
It's
baggage.
8 a.m. Your lesson is over. Your lesson is over. It's 8 a.m.
He's agreeing.
Let me conclude.
No.
The government
Let's take a
of
break.
Kenya Kwanza. And
Let's
the
take a break.
Yeah, we take a break.
Let's take a
And
break.
then we'll
I need to
conclude.
fill your cups.
You will allow me.
I will.
Finish my statement. But I've done what you call
I hear you.
exposition of the lesson.
You know, the bottom-up economic model is really promoting the bottom-up economic
Let's take a break. All right, welcome back. Kenya turned 60 yesterday. We are 60 years old. Sossion says that he's not yet 60 years old. Okay, let me take you through the front page of BBC. What do you have here? Israel losing global support over Gaza. Let me just turn this side for you to see it very clearly. Okay, Israel losing support over Gaza bombing. That's according to Biden. That's the US president saying that Israel losing global support of Gaza. That is Joe Biden. The US President Joe Biden has said that Israel is starting to lose global support over its quote-unquote indiscriminate bombing of Gaza. His comment made to donors at a fundraising event on Tuesday marked his strongest criticism yet of Israel's leadership. And Mr. Biden said that he's offered unwavering public support to the country since Hamas launched its attacks on 7th of October this year. And while he reiterated that Israel could count on US backing, he issued a direct warning to its government, quote unquote, Israel's security can rest on the United States, but right now it has more than the United States. It has the European Union, it has Europe, it has most of the world. He spoke this yesterday. He told donors to his 2024 re-election campaign in Washington. Daniel, the big boy is speaking.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Well, I also agree that, you know, the continued bombardment in Gaza. I think there's a lot of opinions and so varied opinions as to why there should still be this war in Middle East.
Yeah.
While there is a ceasefire that had been discussed, Benjamin Netanyahu, who is the Prime Minister of Israel, I think must be told in clear terms that the bombardment has to stop, because now there is bombardment in hospitals, you know, where they shouldn't be.
Yeah.
The laws of war doesn't allow you to bomb hospitals, to bomb refugee camps, to bomb, tents and humanitarian areas. But you see, this has been a targeted bombing, in the claim that we are targeting the Hamas, fighters who are, providing human shield in these particular areas. So I agree to some extent that this was long foreseen. The more Israel is bombarding Gaza, the more he's losing the support of the international community.
Yeah.
Because we are all agreeing that we need to strike a balance of being humanity, where you stop, bombing innocent children and people who, have nothing to do with the war. But also on the other side, I also feel that Hamas should also be asked to release the hostages for now. If
Too
these
many conditions
agreements,
are now coming out now.
Yes. Why would they not release the hostages? Because the bombardment that Israel is now pushing forward is by the fact that they are feeling that these conversations are not going anywhere. That even as much there is a ceasefire, the Hamas, military, group is not releasing the hostages that, were captured on October. I generally agree that there needs to be a mediator, even if it's not the US. But I think there needs to be a mediator to stop this war in the Middle East, because it's having ripple effects, just like the Russian and the Ukraine. And I can see President Zelensky was yesterday at the U.S. Senate, trying to also push for more support, that the U.S. should support military to stand against Russia. So I think a balance needs to be stricken there.
Yeah, there you have it. Actually, he met President Joe Biden yesterday, so it's here. Sorry for that. So Zelensky, third visit to Washington on Tuesday, was tinged on desperation. That's according to what they say. It was a last-ditch effort to win new military aid from Congress before the currently approved amount runs dry. Okay, so very quickly, I want to take you on France 24. France 24 is now quite different. This is a live one. UN General Assembly votes for Gaza ceasefire, further isolating US and Israel. So this is what we have. The UN General Assembly overwhelmingly passed a resolution on Tuesday demanding an immediate humanitarian ceasefire in Gaza. A call the Parallel Security Council has so far failed to make, piling pressure on Israel and the US. This is how they voted. The voting result was here. In favor, 153, against 10, and abstention was 23. So the outcome was here. The UN General Assembly. The UN General Assembly voted overwhelmingly on Tuesday to demand humanitarian ceasefire in Gaza, in a strong demonstration of global support for ending Israel-Hamas war. But now, the vote in the 193-member world body was 153 in favor, 10 against, and 23 abstentions. No, now, unlike Security Council resolutions, General Assembly resolutions are not legally binding, but the Assembly's message are also, quote-unquote, are also important and reflect world opinion, according to UN spokesperson. Mwalimu Sossion, so there's a message being sent out here at the UN Assembly. In favor, 153, against 10, and 23.
I think the UN General Assembly is doing its work, and it has taken a resolution, and that resolution must be respected by the US and Israel.
Yes.
So if we need peace. At this age, era, and time of the fourth industrial revolution, we must not have certain civilizations behaving like animals. I think we need to get out of that and promote global peace, promote global coexistence. Yeah, when you see the president opening borders, it means you allow other civilizations to freely visit us, and the global community has been open up, and so the war in Israel must be controlled properly from the UN, and if we need peace in Israel, lasting peace, then the UN must play its role effectively. And the US and Israel must respect that. Because we live in a global community where communications is so strong, and therefore there is no reason why such conflicts cannot be brought to an end, including even Ukraine-Russia conflict. Those are unnecessary conflicts, unnecessary, completely unnecessary, and they can be handled through strong mediation framework within the UN. UN was created in 1945 after the Second World War, out of the experience of the catastrophic effects of the Second World War. And I think now it's time UN is upgraded and given capacity and independence to intervene in peace in areas of conflicts across the world, because where there are conflicts, there's a lot of human suffering of women and children, and generally humanity. We don't need to dehumanize humanity at this time, basically because of resources that can be organized properly and ensure human coexistence. Before the establishment of the State of Israel, earlier on in 1948, from the fact that we get in history, even Jews coexisted with Muslims in Iraq and elsewhere with equal opportunities. And what we are seeing is a hangover of unfinished business of colonizers within the Middle East, because basically the entire world was colonized, including even Europe. And therefore, a lot needs to be done in the Middle East through the UN framework. No
Let's come
other
back home
option.
Now. All right, let's come back home. It's always good to go global as well. Okay, so Daniel, the president was at it yesterday again. Jamhuri Day celebration, we marked it. What stood out for you?
Well, when I was getting into the set, you were giving us an update about the infantry trooping yesterday by the Kenyan Defense Forces. Always. I am proud by that kind of an illuminate performance. It is tantalizing, it is very beautiful, it is very colorful.
As a country, I think we have one of the orderly defense forces that always grace the occasion, not only, to entertain, but also to show the might as a regional military order that we have as a country. And therefore, mine is just to congratulate again the Kenya Defense Forces by the stellar performance yesterday, and by the flag that was trooped yesterday. I think should be 25.
Yes, 25.
The 25th
yes,
one that we are having, battalion. So I think it is important also to acknowledge these. And you see, in the spirit of civic engagement and public, public participation. However, I wish that since Mwalimu is here, that our curriculum would always inform Kenyans, what this means, Victor. Because yesterday I actually struggled to understand why the national anthem was played thrice. As opposed to once that you always see. But you see, until the media tried to elaborate why that was happening, if we have this kind of, as part of civic engagement, and to understand, Kenyans to understand the value,
yes,
to understand what comes with this.
This is what we're talking about now.
The beauty,
yes,
the beauty of this marching, as opposed to just marching and colors, and the three, the Kenya Army, the Kenya Navy, and the Kenya Air Force. What does this mean to a country? If this is able to be elaborated for young people who are born, post-Moi regime, and the Generation Z that we are having right now, with the creativity sector, then I think Kenyans will be able to understand. That is one thing that stood out for me yesterday. The stellar performance, and always waited for it anxiously. But again, of course, much of the presidential speech on how the borders are opened, also that was a breakthrough yesterday. On how the report, various reports on the conferment of the elder of the Order of the Golden Heart. Where a number of people who've made significant milestone in different sectors were acknowledged.
Just to mention, including our very own Martin Kingasia.
Yes,
and
you see.
And Gatonyi, they were also fitted.
Mwalimu, you've been awarded before.
Yes. I was decorated by President Mwai Kibaki in 2012.
Yes.
As a Moran of the Burning Spear, out of my personal engagements with him on teachers' matters while he was the president, and I think we did a lot with Kibaki. Yes. We were able to see conversion of 23,000 teachers to permanent and pensionable jobs. And to me, I'm happy. If I was able to cause employment of 23,000 teachers, it is something
I was just recognizing.
You would imagine the chain of help after 20,000.
I was decorated as a Moran of the Burning Spear, MB. By Mwai Kibaki.
What does it come with?
He will tell us. And I think
it comes with a medal, and that is a medal of honor.
Yes,
it's a medal of honor. It doesn't come with millions of shillings. It's a medal of honor, and the honor is the greatest thing. And you remember when the king came to Kenya, those veterans of the Second World War came out with their medals, and they're very proud of the medals. And this is the pride of anybody in the military, and the pride of anybody who has excelled in nationhood. You don't need land, you don't need money, you only need a medal of honor. That gives you pride, and it leaves an indelible mark forever.
Agree.
It picks you from the crowd.
Yes. I think it's always important to see Faith Kipyegon. A number of people who were conferred yesterday. And I think Mwalimu has just given us the elaboration, exactly what this means, the pride, the sense of pride that it brings into it, the internal intrinsic value that you get when you're able to refer yourself, put in, something on your title as EGH, and all these. I think for me that stood out yesterday. But even as I conclude on this, I think it's important that the president really is also trying to bring in the value of nationhood. The value, the progress we've made as a democracy. Because that was his opening speech. How we have come from 1963 as a single party state
to a multi-party state. There are countries who've not, there are countries in this continent who've only seen one or two presidents. Even our neighbors here.
Yeah.
I mean, there are one or two presidents. A whole generation has not seen, how many presidents are we right now? 6 or 7? Fifth president or 6. But there are countries who've seen 2 or 3. You see, these are things I'm saying. If we are able to tell the citizens of this generation, the value of what we have is this country. Until you walk outside, until you walk outside
and preserve,
exactly.
The value until you walk outside this continent and you see, then you are able to appreciate what we have as a country. And this sense of pride that we always look at in celebrations like this. But lastly, like I mentioned, is that the leadership that we have, and this is, I critique them, but I critique in terms of creativity, constructively. If the president was able to secure, a partnership with Grammy Awards, to come and begin to shoot films, you know what that means as a Hollywood partnering with the government of Kenya and trying to set Kenya at a global stage, giving young people an opportunity to exploit talents. Lupita Nyong'o found that value by leaving this country and going to Hollywood. But right now, Hollywood is coming to Kenya. Do you know that value? I think we should know that value of what it brings to this country. Do you know the value of Meta and Facebook opening and Google opening a regional office in Kenya? Sometimes I think as a country, beyond criticism, we really just need to take stock and know exactly the investment we have in this country. But all in all, because we have a leadership, because we have a vibrant civil society that is able to question, and the value of civic space opening for democracy to thrive, and people beginning to be creative in their ideas, giving president creative ideas, as opposed to, the country that have civic space. This is for me as what I call that the state of the nation, even as much as is not strongest, but it was stronger yesterday.
But let's not forget about, when we talk about leadership, let's not forget about the strength of our democracy that we've tried to churn as a nation for over those years. At Mwalimu, you stand at a very good pedestal point, because when you talk about what the president said, really what really stood out, that you said, now that sank home.
I think I can consolidate everything that went on yesterday. My brother has talked about the position of the military. My brother has talked about the president talking about the value of our democracy, the great value of our democracy. And nationhood. My brother has talked about leadership as a key thing that we need so that we can go the Singaporean way. And that reminds me of what the outgoing Prime Minister was saying. For us to move forward, we must keep our systems clean. The whole thing that I saw in the whole celebration is a mark of diligence in Kenya. That's where we are headed to.
Yeah.
We are going to be a country of merit, a country of diligence, a country of order, and a country of progress from how things were done. Take, for example, the traditions within the military. Yes, we may have inherited the English tradition in terms of doing things, but it is a value that has grown over time, which is admired. And let me tell you, in every national day, Kenyans admire the work of the military. And this is one entity that really we need to emulate and copy from. And as you have challenged, these are some of the things that we need to, especially when you're talking about value-based education.
Yes.
Value-based education. What values do we really need to grow and inculcate in our children? And not only inculcate in our children, inculcate in our leadership. So the event yesterday communicated to every Kenyan, and it gave hope to Kenyans. And particularly when the president said, the country is headed in the right direction. And he was able to account blow by blow. To me, I saw diligence of consolidating the country, consolidating the people of Kenya, whether in opposition or in government, to understand their country, understand where their country is headed to, and support the country to head toward that progressive direction. To me, that message came out very clearly. The president, in terms of now when you're talking about leadership, we need a leader. I think we have it in the person of the president. And now, that brings me to the other interest that you're talking about, corrupt elements and whatnot. in the government of Kenya Kwanza, and you will see it by and by, it will have no room for anybody corrupt. They will fall off. They will just fall off, if there are any. Because for this country to go where it needs to be required, the leadership that we are talking about, now we have it. We must have we must have all those values exemplified in all government officers, with all government appointees, from the president to the lowest government servant, and that is how to turn around the country. And by the way, Victor, we can turn around this country in 5 years. And in 5 years, we will be telling stories of where we've come from. As a democracy, because I'm also widely traveled. While working with teachers, I travel across Africa. I helped organize teachers in many countries in Africa. And in some countries, even to criticize government, even teachers used to ask me, hey, Sossion, how come you're so bold? You are able to take on government, lead, action. I said, yes, our country's democracy is free. And I remember 2012, Kibaki told me, I cannot go to the UN when children are at home.
Yes.
And I told him, Mr. President, please travel. I will ensure that this strike is called off because you have given us what we were demanding. And to me, it was great humility for President to request you and for me to give permission to the President and tell the Mr. President, travel.
I would imagine
that is how the confinement came.
Mr. President, travel to the US. We shall call off because you have achieved what you wanted and you have given us what you wanted. And that is the beauty of our democracy. If you look at our President, he is able to engage the different groups and consolidate their views, and that is the hallmark of democracy. Consult the people, and I think it is outlined properly under Article 10 of the Constitution.
Exactly.
National values and principles.
Yeah, we're almost exiting the stage. Almost exiting the stage. What do you really think now, moving forward? We start another journey, 6 years to come. I mean, what do you really think as a nation? You talked about this aspect of nationhood from the president's, point of view.
Yes.
So, what next for us as a nation?
Well, I think there's a systematic drift. I was reading an interesting article where I also ended, and I just wanted really to slightly agree with Sossion. If that is the persona of the president, then I think
totally agree.
Then I think that is
totally. I persuade you to totally agree.
That is the right direction. Where for the president to deliver, and any president, is that sometimes you have to take a break and tighten your cycle to perform.
Yes.
Because there is a lot of varied issues that are coming that sometimes, if you're not careful, you become a lame duck president.
Correct.
I have seen President Ruto, if that is true, that is tightening his delivery and dream team, then this is why the results are coming in. I foresee a president that is keen on striking a chord over face of Kenya. In a sense that appointments, in a sense that, any qualifications is looked at in terms of merit. If there is a position of appointment to parastatus in the CS, then I think the president is looking at someone who is qualified to deliver. He read the Riot Act to the ministers in State House. I think that was a hallmark and a bold move that now things are not going to be usual as you thought. That now is a time to deliver. For the stake and for the sake of nationhood, that the president is a symbol of a national unity. He's a father figure. He's the nationhood, the president of the Republic of Kenya. And when he said yesterday that services are now going to be delivered in any corner of this republic, whether you voted him or not, or whether you're from certain tribes or not, that is the right direction that we are looking as a country.
That's the bare minimum as for him as a president.
There is a political goodwill.
There is no question about that.
Let me tell you.
And that assurance is important.
It is very important. But then there is a political goodwill that even as much as you can say it, but you can say it and not implement it. Because you're asking me where are we headed as a nation.
Yes.
That is where we are headed to. Secondly, I am a beneficiary when I was given a chance to ask the deputy president by then,
Honorable William Ruto, now the President of the Republic of Kenya, one of the Chatham House appearances, and I was given an opportunity to ask him the question about how to tackle corruption. And I agree that the answers that he provided way back in earlier 2020, last year, I think last year before election.
In London.
In London. Sossion, I was given an opportunity to ask him question because I attended that particular session. So when I was asked on corruption, the President said very clearly in clear terms, and I agree with him, that corruption has been personified. That in a sense, that certain people are seen as corrupt, and therefore the public has perceived that in a sense that you cannot fight corruption. Because corruption is equated to certain individuals or certain communities or certain things. So he said,
in sense is widespread.
In his response, he said that one of the things to do is to use the available mechanism and institution to fight corruption. So when I say the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission winding up on the cases, Office of Director of Public Prosecution, prosecuting people, I am saying here that I see that there is hope in terms of fighting corruption. So for me, those are two things. Building a nationhood, fighting corruption, and becoming accountable.
In one word, is there hope?
There is. I see there is hope. For me, I think that is there is hope in this country.
Mheshimiwa Sossion, 42,000 teachers to be trained as straight roll out curriculum. State to employ 56,000 teachers, upgrade key facilities in schools. Maybe in 1 minute. We are all
the biggest beneficiary in terms of policy implementation and transformation of William Ruto's administration of Kenya Kwanza is education.
Thank you.
A lot has gone into education, and training 42,000 in coding curriculum is really going to build capacity of teachers, and that will be seen in terms of return, in terms of from the learners. And of course, will prepare the country and the youth of this country for the fourth industrial revolution. Employment of 56,000 teachers is just but halfway of what the president committed. And I can say anywhere and any time that the president remains committed to hire up to 116,000 and seal the entire gap within a short period. And those teachers who are being brought on board under internship shall be gradually converted in an automated system to permanent and pensionable terms.
Thank you.
So I think education by 2027 we'll have one of the best reports.
Thank you so much.
In terms of outcomes, in terms of investments, and in terms of commitment.
As you speak, this is how you're speaking. As we finalize, this is how we usually do it. This is how you do it. Okay, so a point taken home. A point taken home. Directly, just beam that. Mheshimiwa Sossion, what were you trying
Is that me today?
This is you. This is you.
Oh, yes.
The kind of, the passion, you know this
I need
one.
that photo in my phone. Can whoever is doing it send me that picture? That is a picture of the day for me.
Picture for the day. All right, thank you so much. Wilson Sossion, former NAT Secretary General, as well Daniel Orogo, asante sana for coming to the show. We've done the numbers well. All right, you as a viewer, you know what? Asante sana for watching. My name is Victor Oloo. We are taking a break, but GMK continues. Have a good morning. Bye-bye.